Hey everyone, MLive Brendan Quinn here, alongside esteemed colleagues Nick Baumgardner and Matt Wenzel, following Michigan's 63-3 win over Hawaii. The question's finally been answered. Wilton Spate's the starting quarterback for...
I told you so.
Said all along. But the thing that following post-game, a real nice game for Wilton Spate after an early interception, kind of got people sliding back in their seats a little bit. And then came out and was efficient, mistake-free, and really put some nice touch on the ball. What I'm curious from you is what you just kind of saw from him, especially after that first interception. Just the way he kind of carried himself as a starting quarterback in college football. You know what I mean?
It's a start, and that's the most important thing. I mean, they played a team that's not very good, probably exhausted, whatever, but they did what they were supposed to do. They put the hammer on him, and he knew what he was supposed to do outside of one bad play. And everything else from there was near perfect. I mean, I think he had one incompletion where it looked like either he made the wrong throw or the receiver ran the wrong route. Right. That was it. Harbaugh said that the fade through the parry in the corner was perfect. I thought he threw a skinny post to Chesson about 2 plays before that. That was perfect. Same thing. He was getting the ball to Jake Butt. He was getting the ball to Chesson. More importantly, he was getting the ball, and this is all he really has to do with this team, especially in games like this. Get the ball to these guys in space and get out of the way. And I think he realizes that, and I think he's the best guy for that. I mean, obviously, you have to pick. You want to get that stuff in the butt, but he's the guy that, for the most part, isn't going to screw this defense over, and is just going to kind of get out of the way and let these athletes do their job.
And Jim Harbaugh, Matt, seemed especially kind of impressed by whatever word you want to use, his moxie, his ability to be the starter. I mean, he ran into detail more so probably than you used to seeing him go on and on about one guy, especially after us dying for him to actually talk about one of these quarterbacks.
I mean, he talked about the interception on the first play of the game, and then I just rolled off of that, and it was just, it was like that never happened, and it was no big deal, and just I think he said he thought he had the toughest circumstances possible because he threw a pick in the first pass, and then we started the next drive on the 2. Yeah. And he talked about how difficult that was, and then he said, he let him down the field for a touchdown, so now they know he can do it, now they expect him to do it.
And Harbaugh actually, and he added to that he's kind of fascinated by a quarterback's psyche in that situation. And obviously, it's interesting. He's been there himself.
Yeah.
But to kind of see, you can probably look in a guy's eyes at that moment.
Yeah, if they're tightening up, or if they're just going to go keep playing.
Yeah.
He kept playing.
And the other big story coming out of beyond the quarterbacks is Chris Evans, a freshman running back from Indianapolis, who people talked about as a speed guy who can give them a different look, give a different wrinkle, maybe a big play guy that the program hasn't had in a while, especially coming out of the backfield. But not only was fantastic on the field, but after the game, you were there with him for like 20 minutes. I mean, he got a throng of media around him. How did he handle himself?
Fine. I mean, the way he get on the field, he hasn't been nervous about anything all camp. There was nothing that was too big for him. He played at Ben Davis in Indianapolis, which is a pretty big time, professionally run type high school football program. I think that probably helped him out a lot. And then just as a person, personality, I remember talking to him in a recruiting interview a long time ago where he was just a very laid back guy. Didn't seem to sweat small stuff. Did his job that he was told. Obviously, we know what kind of physical skills he has. But he was one of the guys, we talked about him in January, as a guy that was underrated in that recruiting process. I don't know why more people didn't offer him. Ohio State offered him to play defensive back.
Sure.
Other than that, Michigan was about it. And obviously I think they offered him with the idea maybe he could play receiver, running back, or defensive back. But he settled in, as a guy who was obviously the fastest guy they had back there. He knows what he's doing. He obviously takes the coaching, and nothing seemed too big for him. He wasn't nervous. The team met with Michael Jordan last night or whatever it was, and Harbaugh said, "Does anybody have any questions?" And before Michael Jordan, Chris Evans was the first guy that raised his hand and asked him a question. So, very cool kid, and right down to the cool glasses and the fade.
Absolutely. The kid played box top going.
He said it was good for Fresh Prince.
Even better. Even better. And he kind of seems like a guy who felt a little buzz in the stadium, kind of when the ball gets in his ear. I think people started to kind of recognize that this is a guy who can bust one.
Yeah, especially after he had a couple of big plays. I mean, after the first touchdown, I mean, I think every time he got the ball, every time he got after that, people were more interested.
Right.
11 rushing as a true freshman in his first game. That's not bad.
He seems like a guy who sees the hole and there is not any kind of natural hesitation. It's just.
He went third freshman ever to be did 100 in his first game.
He's got a little giddy up and go in him. The defense.
Well.
Came out breathing fire, and I think a lot of that was
and crapping rainbows.
Yeah. I think a lot of that was a camp with Don Brown, and they were ready to go head on.
Yeah, Harbaugh had said he kind of worked as hard as they possibly could work a team, bombed them up, and then about Thursday, Friday said, okay, now we're going to let them go and see what they can do. And Jordan Lewis was out today. Last minute decision with an injury. Okay, so Jordan Lewis didn't play; he's an All-American, and they still just swallowed these guys. Like this is a team that had 450 yards last week against Cal and scored 31 points, and they couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
So as advertised defensively, I would say.
And what I found interesting was for all the anticipation of coming out to play, Harbaugh's big takeaway was the first half, and not the big plays that were made, but the composure and mistake-free football. What you kind of hear from that?
Well, I think Mason Cole is the one who pointed out no penalties on the offense, which he said was obviously a goal. Mistake-free. I think if you watch the Hawaii-Cal game, they ran the ball better than they threw it. That was what they did best, and I think in the first half today they had -2 rushing yards. So, I don't know how you do a hell of a lot better than that.
Right. And Jeremy Clark stepping in. Yeah, a little bit for Jordan Lewis there, kind of getting put in a spot that he didn't know. They literally found out before the game that Jordan Lewis was not playing. Did you see anything specifically from Clark in that spot?
They had a pass breakup early, but again, I think he and Sterling were fine. Brandon Watson played in the corner. The safeties were fine. Here's the thing. They've got a defensive line, and I know we're going to see what happened to Brian Monet. I'm not sure if that'll be long-term or not. But still, there's depth there. Those linebackers are getting 3 rushes, and you got 3 guys in the backfield on every play. And it's not necessarily because they're blitzing 8 guys. It's because Hawaii's offensive line can't get to a linebacker, and Mike McCray, Ben Gideon, and now Jabril Peppers are running, without anybody touching them into the backfield, and that's going to be a long day for anybody playing that. So it was, as we expected, and the next week could be exactly the same.
And speaking with Channing Strubling, who had a pick 6 today, was pretty complimentary about Don Brown's in-game. This is their first time working, in a game and actually being coached with him on the field.
Yeah.
And for a new middle linebacker calling plays, from a new defensive coordinator, pretty impressive. That there didn't seem to be any blown plays, blown coverage, blown anything. I don't care if it's Hawaii or anyone else. That's kind of speaks to the level.
I would think so. I think it was smooth day for all involved, and I'm sure it'll be the same next week. Central Florida's worse.
Why you just said them?
It's going to be a minute before we see this team really.
I was trying to get you to really charge up and be like, "This team's for real. They're going right to the
Here's
playoffs."
the takeaway: they played a team they were way better than. They beat the crap out of them the way they were supposed to. That's what you take away. You want.
Right, you heard it here, folks.
I'm not sure what else to say. They did exactly what they're
Michigan won a very nice scrimmage today to improve to 1-0 on the season. But that's going to wrap it up today. Make sure you listen to the podcast this week. We'll go through a lot more rotational stuff in terms of what you saw. The young guys, we'll get into the freshmen and stuff. So make sure you check that out later in the week. And until then, for Matt, for Nick, I'm Brendan. Thanks as always for watching.